I forgot to turn that on. Um, Not a super huge deal for today, but if anybody wants to go back and look. Um, yeah, I think I want to pull off of what Konstantinos was just mentioning, like a stronger use of type in some way. I think that's the question we can be. I mean, that's what most of you guys should be thinking about first is like, because depending on what you end up landing with, that concept could be like the focal point of the whole project. So I think that's the point here to be really questioning first. And what I want to point out here is that you have these first two words are one typeface, then lots is all bold, and then you have a third type, right? So that alone is like trying to play around those lines. But how could you accentuate that to make this
Um,
even more like in your face, right? Um,
so the I have and our friends are actually the same font. I don't know, but they're
oh,
just
okay, yeah.
not. But I think it's probably because the two fonts don't contrast with each other that much. So the lots, I was just trying to make the lots stand out more.
Yeah. And I think you could be thinking about that in a much larger realm as well, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
like, for instance, we can understand what this bubble is. The bubble is
Mm-hmm.
like a chat dialogue, kind of like an interface on a phone,
Yeah.
and or digital technology. But does the constraints have to, like, does the type have to be within this bubble? Maybe the type is like physically pushing or pulling or falling out of the bubble, right? Like how could you illustrate that and build meaning just beyond that? Similar kinds of things with these bubbles, right? Does
Mm-hmm.
a type have to be in there? And maybe just through that alone, that could be a use of expanding your use of type and really making it more physical or active, right? Like it's kind of breaking out or curling in or different things like that. Okay, we got ease.
Hi. As I stated last time, my project wants to discuss how the recommendation algorithm affects our decision and our ideas. So I haven't finished the whole project yet. I work so slow because all the pictures and the materials are drawn by the pen tool. So it takes a lot of time. Uh, According to my sketch, the the phone will use a spoon to feed the baby, and this spoon is filled with the information you want. Then there is still a leak of background. I haven't considered that yet. So that's the whole project.
Um, I think I might have missed it. I have to maybe after we cover yours, I'm gonna take a quick break to try to fix my audio. It's not very loud, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going over your proposal here. You mentioned I didn't even read the whole thing yet, saying you're focusing on the political polarization caused by some kind of algorithm. Are you still using that?
Um, Actually, I symbolized that idea because that's very hard to show. So for now, my project wants to discuss the only thing is how recommendation algorithm affects our decision and ideas. you know, all the social media use the recommendation algorithm. So what they recommend to you is what you want. Yeah.
Right. Like if you're an independent, you're going to see posts and things about other independents rather than something more traditional or whatever. Okay. Yeah. What do you guys think?
So I use the first sketch. So I haven't finished the whole project yet. Yeah. Actually, I haven't considered the background. So maybe you guys can give me some advice. I will very appreciate that.
I don't know about the background, but
Mm.
I mean, I'm really impressed that you did all of this with the pen tool. I mean, I can only imagine how long that took. But as for the phone, I think this could be a clever way to incorporate your text in, because, you know, when it comes to like things that cater to kids, they're very colorful images, they're very colorful text, bright and popping. So you can definitely incorporate that into the, you know, phone. Also have like, you know, the little messages on top of the phone and things like that to make it more realistic. Yeah, and also instead of like drawing, you could use like, you know, pre-existing images from Google, so that could save you time as well.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
So I really like this project. I don't really know what to add more into the background just yet, but I definitely like where you're going with it. It feels like to me like kids younger and younger are getting these devices, so they're almost like glued together. As they, you know, continue to get older, you're always with your device. So I kind of maybe thought it'd be cool if like, I don't know if they could be like handcuffed together or like glued together or some type of link, because as we keep getting older, we always have this with us. So maybe just, I don't know, that's an idea I thought. Maybe just having them like be connected somehow.
Okay, thank you a lot.
Just going off that, I thought the same thing. Like the connection between the baby and the phone. Like I was gonna ask how you try to like connect them more, because it's really about your project that they are so connected, right?
Yeah. There will be a spoon. The phone will hold the spoon to feed the children with the fake information, the information you want. So that's how I think for now to build a connection between baby and phone.
So I like the idea of having like the spoon feeding the baby like a bunch of content information. So maybe that's where you could have some type come into play. Maybe it's like a bunch of gargled up type, like this is the information and feeding the kid. And as for an idea on the background, I thought this may be kind of funny. You know, maybe like the phone is like spoon feeding the baby, and then the baby is kind of like excreting like the world that he's going to create around him. I don't know, try to make it come out from like a paper or something. I don't know. I thought that would be kind of funny because I know that's what you initially wanted to have, like how the algorithms, as you put it, are going to affect people well later on in life, or maybe you could put like the grown up version of them in the back.
Okay, thanks.
To add something up in the background, maybe it's a good idea to put code, you know, zeros and ones coming down. Something like a matrix.
0 and 1s. Oh.
Yeah, I guess the things that I'm thinking about are he's trying to focus us on like a polarization of like political divisions based on the technology, but I don't see much of like a political division happening here, right? It's just like a happy baby, and the phone looks like it's gonna like try to fight the baby or something as of right now, right? But so like beyond this potential like potential opposition happening, yeah, I can't quite see how they're in opposition from one another. So maybe it's a matter of you need both sides in view, right? So you have one versus the other. Also, like use of color could be helpful with tying one side into another. And yeah, use of type is still going to be important to see how you build that out. Maybe that could be the background, you know. Okay, cool. Let me take a quick second. I'm going to try to toggle my audio because I have maxed out on my Mac Mini and I can barely hear it. Give me a second. I packed my speakers. Volume. Let me see. I need to have some audio going. You click off and you click back on your shit. Okay. I think it's coming through my monitor now. Perfection. Still don't like the Zoom windows that are hard to manage. There we go. Okay. On to Sophia.
So for my project, the proposal I had come up with was the idea of playing with the negative stereotypes about Black women, like being angry, being aggressive, being loud, and how they affect them on things like dating apps, and how those types of interactions can perpetuate negative stereotypes in social interactions. But mainly focusing on the dating apps as my technology. That's what I had in mind. And just kind of conveying how they both can play hand in hand in perpetuating the same social stigmas against Black women and perpetuating these same negative stereotypes.
I really like what you did with the lips there. That looks really cool. And also, if I was to add a suggestion, the hair seems like there's a lot of possibility over here with text. I know there was someone like there was a YouTube video where, and also you know, Professor covered it in class where they cut it up into different parts, so you can cut up the hair into different shapes, while it's still a hair, and then have words, you know, wrap that shape, which I think would look really cool. Yeah, just a suggestion.
Yep, building off of what Aisha said, maybe like you could have the hair be like what she actually feels about what's going on. Just thought.
Do you have any clues on what you're going to do on the background?
No, not yet. I'm still working on how to incorporate Word, just because I'm working from an iPad, and so a lot of the features are really different. So playing around with the features is a little bit different. But I was planning on kind of using the same kind of iPhone motif for kind of doing like a building type of background, and if not, like in my sketch, I had like faces in the back kind of laughing at like her in the main image. I might still incorporate that, but I'm still kind of up in the air. So any suggestions would be great.
Maybe for the background, you can do like a Facebook post, maybe like they're scrolling on Facebook.
I think what I like about this is that it's sort of minimalist and you get the idea without like having it be crowded with too much text or imagery. So I think maybe you'd benefit from just sort of a solid color in the background or something like just that matches the color scheme you already have rather than some kind of cluttering of image.
You know, sorry, right as I went to talk. The first thing I thought about was I really enjoy this angry happening. And I'm curious like how much further could that be pushed, right? But I also think that in order to really get the full use of that, it should be larger. So then I was thinking, well, couldn't you just have this entire head expanded so that like, you know, the hair is basically the entire top and then the face is much larger. Just it would create a larger space to really focus on the mouth. But then I was really just kind of reading your proposal here and getting a sense. My audio is weird at the beginning still. Instead of just these swipes, because like swiping, you're talking about dating apps. I think that's kind of apparent. But I think what really helps in terms of like polarizing like political statements would be to show the opposite in action. So instead of just swiping, maybe contextualizing it as swiping for like people are swiping, you know, swiping right on the other end of the spectrum, right? So maybe if you have this black woman in the back with the phone slightly overlapping her, is showing that there's focus on this like swiping right of a different, you know, ethnic group. You don't have to be super specific. It could be, you know, cartoonish, just like this. I think the point would then show that the black woman is literally in the background, right? Like out of focus. So it's kind of taking what you have and reorganizing it to be in a different way. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any follow-ups to that thought? Yeah, I think that might be a way to kind of swing it. Okay. Kalista.
Okay. I was actually just working on the restatement of my project proposal. So my project is on the purpose of discrimination versus, not discrimination, I can't speak this morning. Unity versus equality in, not only in the US, but especially in the LGBT community itself. I'm currently messing with the whole lock and key thing, and the little green area is supposed to be like the connection between the lock and key, where the lock is equality and the key is unity.
Do you want to kind of recap what the two flags are and then what the lock and key are supposed to be representing as of right now?
Yeah. For the two flags, I basically just took LGBTQ communities, just their straight ally flag, and kind of like overlaid it with the American flag. That's what you see going on. And then, like I just said, the lock is supposed to be equality and the key is supposed to be unity. Like unity is equality.
Yeah, cool. What do you guys think?
I really like the image um, because you said that you were like it's an overlay of the LGBTQIA plus flag and the American flag. I'm thinking that maybe um, something needs to be like done in with that blue, like that blue square over there, that blue rectangle. I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you were gonna like continue using like doing the stars like based off of the American flag, or if you were gonna go with something different. But if you wanted to like play around with like the colors, maybe you could like do the stars, but use the colors from the LGBTQ flag instead of like the basic like white stars. You could like incorporate the different colors just to do something with the blue.
Yeah, I still haven't done the stars yet, but that's actually a really good idea. Thank you.
Kind of going off that, I was gonna say I really understand what you're trying to do, and I was actually gonna suggest like to put the stars in the blue square. I guess maybe one thing I could think of is the whole lock and key with the unity and equality. I was thinking maybe you could, I want to say it's the Pathfinder tool, to kind of put those words like in there to kind of like make that shape. But that's the only suggestion that I had.
Also, maybe somehow make the words a little bit easier to read. It's a little bit confusing. It takes a little bit of effort to read it. Somehow, maybe if you can put something on the letters to make it read easier.
I think I think the ones that are around the gray are easier, but like this one and the red here and I think these ones are the harder
Yeah.
because there's no contrast.
Maybe an outline, maybe a stroke or something like that. A tiny one just to make them separate easier.
Yeah, I had thrown that out to her as a consideration. Even just
Yeah, I
like,
haven't really messed with that too much yet.
yeah, and we talked about even potentially just one side of it, like a shadow, on like a 3D text kind of thing. So yeah. I want to see if you guys have any communal thoughts towards the lock and key interaction happening, because they have the two different meanings, and this kind of green square is like temporarily representing that overlapping part. She's still, as the last time we talked, she's still kind of unsure exactly how she might visualize that like striving for a connection between the two, or striving for a bonding between the two.
This is just off the top of my head. Maybe a gradient might work, where you've got like the color for the equality coming at like this angle, and then because you've got like a giant blue square in the back, maybe like a more traditional thing coming at it on the other side, and maybe try to like blend that in. Put the blending right where the lock is to show that that's where the focus is.
Oh, and you know what? As you mentioned that, the gradient, I don't know why, but at the start I was thinking, oh, gradient kind of going this direction, right? But then I also thought, well, there's also gradients you could do radial. And so you could almost, it could almost be like a portal, right? Like it's opening up and the color could be spanning out. And then this would be breaking from the stark rule, like graphical rules you have right now. But I'm even thinking like, could you make like jetting, like flaring lines kind of coming out, like, you know, rays of sunshine kind of thing, where
Yeah, I could do that.
where they're like, you know, overlapping other elements in the background, which then really makes you think like, oh wow, this is the point that's like the exciting moment. And potentially that radial gradient could be like the rift, you know, in space where there's this window of opportunity or something. So
I kind of agree with Bernard. Like you can put it maybe in the corner and then make the flag itself like come out like you're unlocking it.
cool. Good work, team. Do I have the top cut off? Dang it, mouse. Okay, rolling.
Oh, okay. My project is about the conflict between technology and the privacy policy. What I want to express is that everyone is using electronic product, but we often leak our private information on those devices without paying attention. So in my project, I want to use a huge eye as the background to show that all our actions are being watched, and also the camera. And then there are different kinds of people who are using electronic products to represent all of us are using those kind of stuff. And the text just like what I said, nowhere to hide. But I just a little bit confused. I don't know where to put the text, so I just put it on the top. That's it.
I haven't, like, first looking at it, I haven't noticed the eye, but I think it's a really great idea to put the eye there. Maybe you can like emphasize that more with like, I don't know how, maybe an outline, make it more like a graphic. And with the text, maybe you could like tilt it like this, and then like as if it's coming towards you, moving towards you with shadows.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that's a similar idea to what Ren said in the chat. Maybe like put some kind of text in the camera. Like Ren said, put the 4 words "nowhere to hide" in the camera, so just some form of just, I don't know, like you said, the cameras like spy on us. So something relating to that.
The one thing I'm questioning, because right now there's a lot of visual content. It's not, you know, like pictorial content that's not type. And after knowing this is an eye in the background, I'm wondering, do you guys think we need the other cameras in there, or how might the eye better encapsulate this notion of invasion of privacy?
I think maybe if you focus on like the specific devices that everyone's using, maybe you've got like an eye insignia or a logo, excuse me, on the device itself, or maybe on like the back of it. Try to figure out how to do that.
Another idea could be like, you know how sometimes when cameras are on, people they have like lights on. Maybe that could be something that's significant. I don't know. Just try to figure out a way to keep the cameras in.
So my initial thought is and the reasoning for this is because I think the background and the nowhere to hide as they stand are like a completely different visual style. Like the stuff on the front is all like clip art almost, right? The background is more like raster graphics, right, as of right now. And I'm almost thinking, oh, I wish I knew the name of it. Let me see if I could just look it up real quick. There's this type of circular, yeah, panopticon, right? Have you guys heard of this before? Has anybody heard of this, panopticons? So it's this notion of a circular design where there's like this prison structure where there's somebody viewing you at all times in your cell, but you don't know if they're actually viewing you or not, right? Because you can't actually see them. So it's just like this invisible eye that's always there. And through this notion, I'm relating back to how I see these streaks coming out, right? These rays. But as of right now, the rays don't seem to be like meaningfully associating to the content as well as it could be. And I think that that's where the use of type could really be implemented a little bit better. So quite literally like overlaying type as rays coming out, right? Like whatever these rays are coming out could actually be the words you're trying to tell us about the eye that's back there, as one consideration. And so, and maybe, you know, if the rays coming out like in this lower left-hand corner, maybe wherever it's going towards, that there's going to be something there in the foreground that it's focusing on. And I see in your proposal, you're talking about cell phones. So I don't even know if you necessarily need a whole person in here. I think you could just focus in on like kind of a phone larger, or like, you know, like a finger off screen coming on. Like if my hands right now were in the bottom corner of your project, right? We're kind of getting a sense that, oh, this is focusing on somebody on a phone or whatever. And then the background could have those words as like a visual use of type. And does that make sense? I think something like either kind of lean towards using the background more in that way, or shift that more to like a backward thought, and then yeah, I don't know. I try not to lean towards these like, oh, this is a really good idea. I'd rather have you guys talk about things too, but that's what I'm coming up with. Ian. Oh, sure, I'll download it. Rick Sanchez. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll start. So my project proposal idea, I guess, was just about the show Rick and Morty and the politics that surround some of the technology that he uses. For example, like the main thing that he uses is portal gun. And I was just thinking about like the different examples of how that's gotten him into trouble with different organizations like Citadel, Rick, you know, i.e. example of a government, and the Galactic Federation, like another person in power, and then just like the whole family politics of Jerry's dad Morty's dad kind of being isolated, and how like Rick is like the head of this family. So my idea was to have like a bunch of hands reaching out and grabbing portal gun, but I just want to press this, like Adobe was giving, Illustrator was giving me a lot of trouble, and there's not a lot of text there, but there was before, and somehow that just got lost in my layers. But yeah, that's
In what way did you use text before?
So you see, like, I have like the portal in the middle right section. I've got like I did like a little bit of a flipping mask, and there was more text of that portal, and that was kind of going to be my background. And then that sort of got lost somewhere. I don't know how. So I guess I kind of just abandoned that idea, and that's just me kind of like playing around with different texts, trying to understand how to move it all together, and then how to edit them individually. So it was just me kind of playing.
Can you tell us, because this kind of looks like mug shots, right? Could you describe what's going on with the lines and like why just the words portal?
Well, the words portal was just like some base text that I was using just to like mess around to figure out more about how I can use text, because my idea was to have like a bunch of hands and then put text in those hands as sort of like the reasons why they'd want to be reaching out with portal gun. And the lines of the mugshot is I was just trying to find like good character models of the Rick and Morty characters, and this one I ended up, and I was like, okay, this one looks kind of cool. Maybe I can incorporate like, oh, this is how it's gotten in trouble some way, or I might just remove them later. But I had other hands on there. But the problem was last night I got a bunch of errors as I was trying to export it as a PNG. So I had to get rid of some of them because I guess that was part of the problem. So yeah.
Just a small suggestion. So the portal on the bottom, it kind of blends in. I don't know if you wanted that. But if not, like, you know, it'd be nicer to have it a little bit more popped. But other than that, I really like the image. I especially like, you know, the mugshot effect. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, maybe adding to the mugshot effect, you can put like the serial numbers on the bottom. So like usually inmates hold a little card, like they're pretty sure it's a serial number or whatever, their documentation number on that. That would help the aesthetic of a mugshot if that's what you're really going for.
Also, I know you explained like the meaning behind the hand and the portal gun, but maybe like the placement of it, like where it's placed right now, it's kind of just like in the middle, and like I feel like it doesn't add to what you're trying to convey. So maybe like maybe you could place it differently just to convey the image better and tie it in together and make it more organized.
Yeah, and with that portal gun, yeah, placing it differently or better. Because on the bottom you have a shadow behind Rick, and on the top there isn't any shadow, but I'm assuming the portal gun would kind of give off some light. So maybe adding a shadow or something to like the right side of him, or just brightening up the left half.
Yeah, and I guess I have like a little confusion when I'm first looking at it, because I can tell it's by the portal gun, and I know you're still working on it and figuring things out. The numbers on the right don't seem to correlate in any way, and especially because you have two different perspectives. So maybe there needs to be like a division between the two, and the numbers would start at the same spot, or if you're using them for height. And so by having text in here, in pretty much everybody's images, they usually are going to stand as for like representing what this is really about. And right now it's just portal, right? So it kind of leaves questions like, well, what does that mean? But also what this could be is like, you could represent it almost as like an official printout, or an official screen image that might be shown on the show, right? Like keeping up with the theme of Rick and Morty, in a sense of, okay, maybe this is like, I don't even remember the context. Do you remember who was arresting him?
The
I
mosquito
think for
people.
this particular one, it's not, like, it wasn't exactly from the show, but the only time I remember him getting arrested was by the Galactic Federation.
Yeah, the
I witnessed him like giving up. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so maybe this is like, there's a header on this, like, and it's the Galactic Federation header, and you're making this up in terms of like representing an actual document, and you're showing him, but then you're also able to put in this other sub information about like what the crimes were through the visuals, maybe. I don't know. It's just a thought, kind of recontexting it. Yeah, but I really think that matching the styles could be good. Oop, I keep doing that. Okay, Michael.
So my proposal was to kind of show the oh,
sorry,
you're all right. So my proposal was to show how the tech company, in more specifically like Apple and the cell phone industry, kind of have a shiny front to show like, oh, to promote newer is better, and I kind of put the pyramid as that. So on the right side, or the light facing side, I put the base of it as newer is better, because that's like the message I think people follow typically. Then like on a block above that, on another level is social media, another level is like influencers, and then like big time celebrity, and then you have ads, and then behind the whole scenes you have Apple on top. And then on the the dark side, the shadowed side of the pyramid, I was going to do the real reason why Apple's preying, like that's we were preying on people's fear of missing out on certain things, or otherwise known as FOMO. But I just wanted more text on there, so I spelled it out. And yeah, no, it's just basically preying on people. It's like, oh, if I don't have my biggest celebrity now, Tom Cruise. Oh, Tom Cruise has a new iPhone, and like all his kind of groupies have a new iPhone. Oh, it must be cool or something like that, or just any sort of big celebrity or influencer. So people you see like on YouTube or whatever, Tana Mojo, or like just naming other people you might follow, and like sales pitches and stuff like that. It's like just because you want, it's a idealistic point of view where you want to be like these popular people who you see as, oh, it's, if A person has it, then B, I must have it. I was gonna try to do something with the text, kind of having the text, like throwing like hieroglyphics around the text and kind of have it look like it's engraved into the pyramid, and then doing something with like an Apple logo in the sky. Well, that's kind of it of how far I got.
Maybe
Oh, also,
instead of doing your fear of missing out on the dark side of the pyramid, you can do that with the Apple logo in the sky, or something else with some sort of a text with your Apple logo in the sky when you do that.
almost like putting it in the top right, so like the Apple logo is casting the light on the what you want everyone to see on the right side of the pyramid, and like the shadow is what, you know, is what's really pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Gotcha.
The first couple things that I noticed is that you've got a shadow, but there's no giant light source, like really explaining why there's a shadow there. Like I get it from the image, and then by that logic, I kind of think there should be a shadow on the ground, and maybe you can work that into the image somehow, or put some kind of message in there. Also, like I like the idea of the hierarchy thing you have here. The few issues I have with that though is that like Apple isn't at the top. Like there's still two blank spaces at the top, so there's no like pinnacle of like this is the max. And also, I think what would be helpful is to denote like the different level, because like it's all brown, it's all like the same text. Maybe like putting like news is better and social media in different types of font, just to show like the differentiation between them, or maybe adding
Yeah, like
some
something
elements
like
behind that. Yeah.
like changing it, so like having like it becoming rougher and bold at the bottom to becoming smoother,
Right,
and
more
having a bit of shine
refined,
on it
yeah.
on top. Yeah, okay. No, that's a good idea. Yeah, no, I was gonna try to do the light source, but I kept screwing it up with because I wanted like cool light rays and like some clouds, but I was like, I mean, if you go into the Google Doc, I submitted it kind of late last night, so I was just tired and it wasn't quite working. So this is how I got it in, to be completely honest with you. Because the path of the shadow underneath on the bottom left corner of the pyramid was not quite working it how I wanted to.
I know you didn't have a lot of time last night and you were pretty tired, but maybe going forward when you do have time,
Yeah.
you know, I like how you have, you know, the class, and maybe you can, you know, I don't know, there's this effect where you can make the word into that shape and then give it like some 3D effect, so that it looks like the words are building the pyramid instead of the words just being on the pyramid. And of course, that's when you know, have more, and maybe something with the background, you know.
Yeah, no, I do see the background is kind of plain. You know, I was just working on it. I'm not using it as an excuse. I just was kind of, as far as I got with it, just a lot of things weren't working out, and I had other classes that the work had to take priority. But you know, I could definitely see using the text to build the pyramid, but I just wanted to get I found it would it have the same effect if I still kept the rigid shape of the structure but had the words fill up that entire bottom piece, and I had it like almost like engraved in there, so it's a part of the structure. It's just that sometimes the path and the light won't work on the using that. I was thinking, would that have the same effect as what you're thinking? Because I do appreciate what you said and want to incorporate that.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, yeah, are you? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so the only thought or the question I have is, would you say that the whole stock market, this whole manipulation,
Well, I wouldn't say it's manipulation in the stock market, but
oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong Michael. Damn.
it's a common name. I graduated from the school I went to previous before I transferred with 4 other Michael Stevens other than myself. So I get it. I just find that to be
And I have
very common.
I have a Steven as a first name in my other class too.
7-letter names, man, they're common.
So I don't know if this makes any relevancy or not, but because of the color vibe, this is relating to me like one of the worlds on Super Mario 3.
Glad you caught that.
I don't know if you've played that probably.
Yeah. I was just, I mean, I also thought desert and stuff like that, and I was like, at the end of it, making the gradient, I was like, oh, this kind of looks like.
No, and I'm wondering, like, could you just even put more cues in from that, like steal elements to? I don't know if you want to make it related to like a game, but you could, using those cues, like enforce this game aesthetic, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could do that, but I don't know if that would really reflect the message, like throwing some of the classic Mario pieces in there. But like, I understand like maybe some Mario assets, like doing some of the clouds or like the flagpole in the background, like just like very subtle things, like, you know, the classic green pipeline and stuff like that somewhere.
Yeah, like that, the blocks on like the desert levels.
Yeah.
Cloud, or maybe some of the levels have like a texture in the background sky. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Or there's that one character that is like chasing you, I think, on a couple levels. Like, could he have some kind of influence? I don't know. It's just a thought, just because of the color scheme and the piano.
Yeah.
But it could be relating to anything relating to, Egypt. And maybe
Yeah, man, I'm taking all suggestions just because I see the foreground and the background being kind of plain, and I want to just fill that up with something.
Yeah, any last thoughts? All right. We are up to Ren.
Hi. So mine is basically big companies are using the net neutrality repeal. I don't know what the actual term for that would be. The repeal of net neutrality to control people. As you see, big companies will be the only thing in color. I have also kind of given up on using color for this. And everyone else is just tied and slow. I do plan on having the words wrap around the person. I just ran out of time last night because this image alone took me like 4 hours.
I think there's a lot of negative space that you can use creatively at the top left corner. Maybe put some jail bars in the form of words, text maybe.
Yeah, and I like how you made the words into ropes, but it's just it blends in a bit too like too much, especially on the body because the body is also white and it's hard to read and it's a bit small. So if you make it like a little bit bigger and a little bit bulkier, I think that would really give off the effect of the rope. And you can also match it with the color of the rope over here, which is like brown or something. Yeah, but overall a nice pick.
Another thought I have is just add more text on like a larger body image here. Maybe you have like persons also, instead of just being choked out with a rope, maybe they're in some sort of constraints and like that looks like big, bold, I don't know, say red text or whatever, kind of like confining them. Yeah, I think you could also like incorporate other elements, like maybe like in the background, like try to I was thinking more of like a Wi-Fi signal, how you can see like, oh, it's teetering down or you're losing signal, maybe try to apply that effect of like the loss of signal. So maybe the person itself is becoming blurry or like faded out, from what's going on, rather than having a stronger connection to the background.
Yeah, that circle is actually supposed to be like a loading circle. Like, the ever running circle of not ever gonna load.
I feel like incorporate text somehow into that loading circle. Still trying to figure out an idea of how, but I feel like it's just still taking up negative space, just sitting there. Maybe someone can add on that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a loading, we could just have the word loading, right? ... or something.
I also feel like there maybe could be a bit more to show like this person is like a big company dude. Maybe try and put like different company logos on his jacket or something, or make him like a bunch of them as like his texture or something. Or a bunch of text from said big companies.
What about blood?
I tried to keep it a little more user or person friendly.
A little bit more PG-13.
Yeah, I was gonna incorporate a trigger warning too, but I was like, hopefully people don't get offended by rope.
Couple thoughts I have so far with your progress. This is a minuscule thing, I think, but sometimes when you cut images apart, you have like this, like a dotted white lines. You should be able to, if that's coming up, like right now it is, but then you zoom in, it's not. One way you get around that happening on exports is by putting like a layer behind everything that's just a solid color that's not white. Sometimes it fixes it. Also, I really kind of like how all of this is, you've got like a similar theme going on with converted images. So you have these blobs of shapes, but then the type is not. right? And I know you're trying to make it look like a rope. And I'm curious, like, is there a way to still implement that same visual aesthetic?
Yeah, what I did is I am in the process of like figuring out how to turn the text into a rope font. Like Aisha helped me a little bit last night, maybe, or the night before. And now I'm trying to do it. I don't really know how to describe it, but I'm trying.
Yeah. Well, I'm even thinking like, could you find the same words in like a 3D format and then live trace those and then put them into place, copy and paste them and put them into place, and maybe that could hold the same aesthetic of having these blurb, these blobs of color, different colors. And then also use of color seems like it's pretty vital. So if you want our focus to go to certain areas, you could use certain colors. So everything's kind of muted right now. And that's why I suggested like, oh, well, potentially what about a use of blood? Because blood could be these long kind of drippy elements that could actually just be type, right? And if they're red, your attention goes to them too, right? So like this contrasting element. And I don't necessarily say you need blood, but I guess what I'm trying to make you focus on is like through use of color, you could have things that are contrasting to bring attention to certain spots. Since you have a similar structure going right now. Aisha, eat your words.
So for my one, it doesn't really match my proposal just because I couldn't figure out how to incorporate it in Illustrator. So my one is basically about how politicians, when they get into the position they do get into, they tend to forget the promises they made to the public, and so that's why I made their words kind of like food that they eat, and then the drips fall on all the things that they promised. So those were like bone structures, like protection, integrity, trust, promises, goals. Yeah, and I know it looks a bit congested, so I was hoping I would simplify it a little bit more. And also I didn't get around to it, but Professor and I were speaking about having the what's that called okay, border, having the border say politicians or something, so that you can tell that it's politicians, because as of right now you really can't tell. Yeah, that's just pretty much it.
The border meaning
the brown splash thingy, using Pathfinder to, as we discussed, to have like something on it.
Yep.
I really like this. I think if you want to emphasize that this is specifically about politicians, you could probably do that with the background of the news articles you have there. I really like that the food you have it's not just food, it's dog bones. I think that's really clever, and I like this image overall. I think you've done a good job with it.
Yeah, to kind of go along with that, I had the same idea of putting the word politician in the background. Like my eyes kind of draw up to like the top left-hand corner. So maybe you could probably like overlap or overlay some words to kind of just say that. That's what I was going to say.
So I have a bit more of a radical idea here. I'm thinking what you could do to put politicians in is like, I see the two bottom team, and I think of the phrase of like people sitting on their ivory towers, and I think like the White House or the Capitol building. So maybe you could like transform the teeth into those buildings or something like that, or maybe put like politicians in the teeth or something. I feel like maybe that would be kind of cool. Also for the words, like it says eat your words, but like it doesn't, I know like counting motion, but I feel like it should be a little bit more inside the mouth, or maybe like try to show that it's trying to like inhale it some sort. So maybe you could put like air whooshes lines or something, so that it's like kind of being swallowed in. Those are my suggestions.
Yeah, or swooshing out, right? Different things, streaky. Yeah, kind of like a comic book effect or something.
I'm sorry, my internet connection's so bad. While you were talking, it cut in the middle. But I understood the teeth, but then you said something else and I couldn't, it kind of lagged. Sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
I just meant like trying to show that maybe like it's being inhaled, like like I said, like kind of comic book style, like the air swooshes, you know.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty smart.
Yeah, and the swooshes could go like, potentially like through different areas as well, you know, depending on what angle you want them to be looking like they're moving. Or swooshes even on like the drips going down, to show like they going from a direction. Yeah, because I think there's that intensity with like with this going on the outside to almost show that things were moving. Kind of. Another way to show things could be moving would be to show like a fainter copy of the teeth behind, like transparent, right? To show like the mouth had been open or it's like actively speaking. These are all kind of small things. The other thing that I think that might be fun to think about is something to put on the sides here that could be like adorning this, because I think you've all probably seen like the free newspapers that you can get at like different cafes or bars that advertise like music and like the nightlife scenes and that kind of stuff. My cousin actually, she started a business years ago in like a tri-state area, and she sold ads in her newspaper and she designed all of the ads. And this to me kind of is reminiscent of that, like a late night newspaper article, right? So that one, and it's interesting too that I thought that because like the background is newspaper related. But yeah, I think the color and everything is really working in your favor, and you're relating this stuff here to this stuff down here. And so, yeah, I'm just thinking about something that could take up space here that would kind of help encapsulate it, but also present it. And the one thing that I can show you that might give you some context is just an image that I did, and I just stole this from another previous design. So it's not like I came up with it, right? So like, oh, some fancy swirls, these fancy lines, right? It's like encapsulating. Where is the poster? Oh, it's here. I already looked at it. So as you can see here, there's like these grapevines or some kind of leaves, right? Like branches, some other kind of elements in the background up here, kind of, right? Like everything's in the middle, but then there's a side focus things as well. So you've got that going on down here, right? All this stuff is connecting down here, but then these corners kind of come up. So maybe it's some kind of adornment kind of thing, but maybe it's also, maybe there's something that you could fit in there that is related, like tying in some way as well. I'm not sure, just kind of food for thought. Okay, Jessica.
So my project is about how especially mobile phones are tracking us, and they like track our location and collect all this information. So I decided to have a street map with like locations, and then all those locations form a spyglass. Yeah, and then the text is just like, we know your footsteps. And now that I thought about it, I think I'll put this whole image in a like as in a frame of a phone, so that I have the mobile phone incorporated, because I just realized I don't have that at all.
I really like what you did with your text, especially your footsteps. That's so clever. And I also like the color scheme you used, because it's simplistic. It's not simplistic in its image, but it's simplistic in its color scheme. So we're drawn to the red. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
I think this is totally magazine quality. It's something I could imagine, I could see it as it is in a magazine. I'm not sure if I would change something in it.
What is the gray space in the middle supposed to be?
Which one? Like
this here.
Oh, I was trying to have it like a spyglass, because all the locations connected are the spyglass. I don't know.
Spyglass?
Yeah.
Huh.
Do you mean like binoculars?
Oh, yeah, maybe that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just wondering, like, why not an oversized footprint instead?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I thought it was from a distance, and then I came up close and I couldn't quite tell.
Oh yeah, because I wanted to have the how's it called? Not the spyglass, that.
Binoculars.
Yeah, that. Just like to have like and visualize that someone's watching you.
So what other cues do you guys think this could take to better represent it as a public service announcement?
I know you already said that you're probably gonna incorporate like cell phones, but kind of going off when you said that earlier, the we know, like as a viewer, I'm not quite sure who the we is, like just based off of this image. So maybe putting something in your image to kind of explain the we know, because as of right now, there's a little bit of, for me, it's a little bit of like confusion as to who knows my footsteps.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that could even be as simple as like, instead of just a plain transparent gray background, it could have some kind of agencies or whatever names tiled on there, path found in. It could be very vague, but just like as a texture almost. Yeah, so we know your footsteps. Well, okay, what about it? Right, so there's this general sense of privacy invasion, but you're not really saying this is good or bad. Like, why does it matter that you're showing us? So I think that's the other end of the spectrum that you need to have some consideration for. And the way I like to also situate that is, you could think of it as supplemental information. So yeah, we look at this and we get the general sense, right, with all this capital text and things, but then maybe there's supplemental text somewhere that we look closer and we are kind of reading into why this matters to us. And I think thinking about it as a public service announcement might be a way, right? Like, you know, maybe this is an ad created by some publicly funded anti-government, you know, place, or I don't know. Where is this situated? How could it be? You know, what things can you be talking about? Maybe you make a fake, you know, like little like ribbon banner seal, you know, like people put seals on documents to make it look official. Maybe you put some kind of seal on there that's like relating to this. So all of these projects can be saying stuff, but you could also just pretend that it is something else, right? Like an official document of something. Any official document is made by people, right? You just will it to be so. Okay, we have Jasmine.
All right, so for my project, I'm illustrating how society, but just also in general, older people pressure the younger generation to do so many things, such as, you know, like getting college degrees, buy a home, get married, start a family, work 40 plus hours a week, also obtaining certain beauty standards. And they have to juggle this all, and that it can be hard to do so if you don't have the appropriate resources to get it all done. A lot of older people don't understand how much harder these things are to obtain. And I think that's where a lot of like the judgment is coming from. And I represented that with the speech bubbles. The camera in the top left corner is supposed to symbolize how, so like with social media, you can feel pressured to be watched while going through these life achievements. And then everyone in your life is watching, and people can be constantly comparing themselves to you, and you can vice versa. My main message is like, I want people to understand that it's not healthy to measure yourself to people, because decades ago it was a lot easier to do this. So.
For first couple things I noticed is that like you got speech bubbles, and from you explaining it, I understand who they are, but there's kind of no face behind them. So maybe adding like a bunch of older people yelling at you, you know. Same goes for like the camera and social media. I get it, but at the same time, like I don't necessarily think social media just by first glance. So I think what you could do maybe is like also have like a bunch of kids with their phones like recording you or something and saying like haha stupid, or something like that. And going off like the whole color scheme thing here, uh, I think it worked, like the whole gradient you have in the background, like these are people in the back saying it, and this is like supposedly what you're working for, you know. But I wonder if it could be maybe like different colors, because the thing that you're supposedly supposed to be working for, you know, like that's not necessarily what you might want. So I don't know. I feel like I'm poorly explaining that.
No, this is
Scratch that
helpful.
idea, but I just mean like the color scheme. I feel like maybe you could do more to that, because right now it's just black and white, and I get like the dreariness of it. But maybe you could just leave like the one side like the dreariness, and then potentially have like an out, like this is what. Well, like from one side, like the more traditional people like telling you what to do, and then maybe like what you're working towards, how like that could change and how you could maybe not listen to other people. I don't know. I feel like I went on a little bit of a ramble.
No, you're good. Thank you for the input.
If this person's going up this hill, right, we can tell that they're trying to get to a place. Where are these people?
That's a good question. I was just kind of having it, now that I think about it, I should probably have it on the other side. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have an answer for you for that.
Yeah, no, it's just a question for everybody. Like I think Ian brought up a good point, and I'm written on low on time, so I'm just going to say what I thought. Yeah, I think putting them on the other side is a good way to situate. These are people already at the top or later in life, right? And through Ian, when Ian was talking, I got this general sense that, well, instead of them just being bubbles, what if the bubble was like an outlined shape of a person's head? You just don't see any facial features, and you can write whatever they're saying as over top of their face, right? So like an elderly woman with her hair like in curls or whatever, or a bald guy, like, and maybe those people have the color, so our focus is being drawn to them somewhere, mixed within that color scheme. So yeah, I think recontextualizing these elements and adding some kind of color into the mix, I think are the biggest two factors you should be thinking about.
Okay, thank you.
Konstantinos.
Right here. Okay, my general idea was to talk about politicians and what they do before the elections. They promise, and in fact, nothing happens after the elections. So basically, pretty much everybody's the same. Like, that's why I have in the digital ballot in the phone just politicians, because regardless of their names or political affiliation, whatever it is, they're pretty much all the same. And how the crowd follows everyone, with, even if they know that these are all empty promises, and behind everything is technically money related, because everything has, especially in politics, nothing happens if it doesn't involve some kind of profit for the politicians or the people who work with the politicians.
I love the clever way you incorporated text in the background. It's not easy to see like at first glance, but when you look into it, like believe me, it's very nice, and it's also very overwhelming. Which during like voting seasons, and like where that motto is very pushed forward to the public. And I also really like how you did politicians, all of them the same, because you're 100% right. At face value, they're kind of all the same with their motives. Yeah.
Thank you.
I like the giant dollar sign that you have there to represent money, although I think maybe just to show more of that, play around with colors, like the whole green aspect of money. And you also said like how like politicians ultimately are kind of motivated by money. So maybe that could kind of play into your background instead of just having it be transparent, trying to add like this is what's behind the scenes, this is what they're motivated by.
Not a bad idea, actually. I might do that.
Can you guys
relating off of?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, relating off of Ian's idea of the background, maybe put like one or two of the empty promises that the politician is supposedly saying.
And I was just going to ask real quick, because we'll have to keep trucking here. Can you guys tell who this character is? Anybody have a thought?
When I see that, just because it's about politicians, I kind of think about puppets. I thought that was kind of like, because a lot of politicians can kind of be like puppets, like they're just saying things, there's not any action behind their words. So I took that wooden figure as not as kind of being a representation for that kind of that like puppet masking aspect to politics.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that this is important?
Yeah, because it's denoting like this is person for this party, this person for this party, this person for that party. And I guess like the puppet is kind of like who they actually are, and they're all the same puppet. Maybe the puppet could be dressed up in like a suit and tie or something like that to show that he's like an NP suit.
Yeah, and I'm almost wondering like, yeah, them being the same puppet is interesting. Or having like cutting this down to like 3 different people maybe, and having 3 puppets on the stage. Because then if they're all the same, like that's also saying the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're all these puppets.
Yeah, actually, I could do that. It's not a bad idea.
I think that I just have mixed confusion about, well, 2 things, like really who this thing is representing other than a puppet, right? It doesn't really speak to any one thing. So if you had like 3 puppets and each one was speaking its associated color, then we might at a better glance like grasp like, oh, they're speaking for themselves. Maybe they're all saying the same exact thing, you know? But then my other thought is you've got everything else kind of like very graphically represented, right? It's got a nice graphical appeal to all the elements, except these lines. These lines feel like they're harsh and quickly thrown in. So I'd probably revisit like your approach at delivering how they're talking. So just some thoughts. Yeah, so I think we'll just do like a few minutes a piece. If you guys can stick around, we can finish these up.
Okay, so my project was about this like rising technology of deepfakes and how they're probably going to be sort of a significant problem, specifically in politics in the future. So what sort of became was that I had the 2 sides of it, where it's the left side is more serious, and these are news publications sort of trying to raise awareness about it, and the right side is people's genuine reactions to it. And for the most part, nobody's really taking it with any level of seriousness. I think probably I will do a few more changes, specifically with the TV in the background, but this is what I have so far.
I think the thing that I'm wondering is that like you're talking about deepfakes, and I understand like the silhouette of the person and like the two sides fit, but I don't like. I feel like you need to put some. Maybe you could put some like examples of the different deepfakes that have shown up on like the TV in the background, you know, and maybe like on the left side here, like crank up like you ever seen like those deep fried images? Maybe you could do that to the deepfakes in the background and then put like the real people on the right side.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I just want to bring up, I think it's a nice touch how you have the gradient in the background. Also, building off what Ian said about bringing up the fakes in TV, maybe some form of text in the TV would make the image a bit more readable. Because I don't know about anyone else's screen, but on my screen it's a little hard to read the text that you currently have.
So I didn't know what deepfake was, but I just read your definition in the body, which sounds pretty intense. And I'm not, I'm like, I know maybe the man over here is supposed to be the person creating fake images of, people doing those things, but that image isn't like really coming out really strongly. So I don't have any suggestions, but maybe work on that a little. And I really like how you incorporated the words into the body. But they are just a little bit blurry. That could just be, because you transported them into PNG or whatever. But if they are blurry in reality, if you could fix that a little bit, maybe. Yeah, but overall, a nice pick.
Great, thank you.
My project is focused on appealing people to put down their phones and communicate more with people around them. With the development of science and technology, people are so addicted to social media that they ignore to accompany their family and friends. However, I think it's convenient to communicate through social media on mobile phones, but it's not as close as face-to-face communication. If you rely too much on electronic device, the relationship between people will be more exchanged.
I know this image is supposed to be warning, the general public. And like the text is very forthcoming, but maybe like make that impact a little bit clearer. What happens when you are addicted to social media. You can change the people if you'd like, or something like that, to show that there is, I don't know, maybe there's a real danger to it, right? Something like that. But I really like what you did with the text, especially with the circular one. I don't know how you did that, but it's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the text is, all of the text is being implemented in nice ways. And then I question, like, do these two characters, as of right now, do we need them? I mean, I'm not saying that they can't be used in some way, but I think there's just a divide happening between the two.
I'm
Right?
still thinking about change these two images because I used to want to show face-to-face communication is better, but I think it's do not have a lot of communication to the social media.
Mhm. Anybody have a last thought towards that?
I'm wondering if we could be shown like one of the characters like throwing away a phone or something, or like giving it up to focus on like the other person that they're with. So the guy is like right next to the trash cans, and maybe he's like throwing his phone away to spend more time with the other person.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks for sticking around. Sorry we're crunched at the end here. We could chat more on Monday. Make sure you guys get your stuff on Facebook and do your posts next couple days for some follow-up. And I'll see you guys on Monday.
See you Monday.
Thank you.
Mhm.
See you Monday.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to critique number 2. Shuffling, shuffling. Every day I'm shuffling. Recapping schedule. Monday is our last day of work session. The general consensus from the other class and somewhat this class so far is that a lot of people have been putting off starting on project 2. So hopefully you guys take feedback, really put in some time over the weekend to get to, continual like consultations and trying to find specific ways to solve your problems using tools on Monday. Then next Wednesday, we're going to start audio and you're going to need headphones. Headphones meaning, cable or Bluetooth, I don't care. Point is you, like both sides should be working. Some people just have headphones that don't have both working. Because we'll be working with stereo audio, so both ears. So make sure you have those. And then once we get into audio, we'll have like a day of lecture stuff, a day of exercise stuff, 2 work sessions, and then we start getting into coding in about 3 weeks from now or so. So that's about it in a nutshell. Let me see how many people we should have here. Hopefully everybody's got their images in. So we still need a few people. I'll wait just a second. Maybe I'll just recap for you guys some things to be thinking about for these projects. First and foremost, type. How are we using type? A lot of people default to using images in these, at least for the critique time. Implementing type is challenging, but the longer you kind of put it off, the more challenging it might become to integrate it into your work. So the thing we'll be wanting to make sure we're focusing on today is how is type being implemented? If it needs more focus, suggestions, right, towards their project goals. What else to be thinking on? I should have made a list or something to make it easier. Just in case we get pushed back towards the end of class, remember that you got to throw images on Facebook today, and then over the next couple of days, do some follow-up chats, or not chats, but comments. And so I gave you all feedback on the first ones. A lot of it's just like following the, following the notes here that I give you. But I also try to specify some for a lot of you too, like how you're unveiling your thoughts could be tweaked a little bit so that it comes out in a much more fluid way to the person you're referring to. Just trying to be critical. I'm trying to think of things we're supposed to be talking about. Give me a second, let me start over. Your role. Visual attitude. Okay, so different graphical principles such as color theory, right? Like, are they incorporating some kind of color harmony in their work? If not, maybe there's a way that implementing some sort of color theory would help relate us as the viewer from one element of theirs to another, right? Rather than the one big thing too, just because we're using type, these projects shouldn't be just like all headers, like all heading type, just telling you that, like, the full synopsis of your statement. We should kind of be thinking in terms of like, from a distance, we can get an overview of what these projects really are about. Like, what's the main topic? And then to really understand the specifics of it, maybe some supplemental type that's kind of smaller, built in, so that we kind of are drawn into it a little bit more. These are the kind of general things. Maybe Pathfinder in terms of tool use, right? If they're still working on building things out, and you have a concept, maybe try to tend that, craft those suggestions around how Pathfinder could be integrated to building out those suggestions, because everybody should be using Pathfinder. So these are like the general kinds of things we should be thinking about when giving feedback. So I just want to give a recap on that. And we still missing people, but that's okay. We can get going. We have roughly 15. So yeah, I think I'll stick with the whole, like, around 5 minutes total. So I'm just gonna throw things up, and then you guys, whoever's work that we're gonna be looking at, you can give us just a quick overview of realistically like an updated version of your proposal, and what's the political, what's the technological components, what is the underlying statement you're trying to make. You don't need to give us a whole lot of backstory and why you couldn't do something, or it's not yet done, or kind of just give us need to knows, right? And if you have questions for us that you're trying to solve a problem or something like that. So let's us start off. We'll do the backward game here. It looks like we're missing some projects here. So hopefully people aren't going to be spending a lot of time not participating right now. Yeah, so we can go ahead and get started. All right, and we got Stevens.
I'm having a little bit of issues with the mic. Is it working now? All right. Yeah, well, it's a little like trimmed weird. I guess when I print it out, I kind of want to have it more like uniform and a square, but I'll fix that later. Currently with this, I'm trying to work on the whole like misinformation and how it like spreads from person to person. Like my idea right now is like basing off of one of my sketches, it's every one of those like those little gray people, they're like a person, and as it spreads from person to person, truth gets more distorted until it becomes a lie. And trying to work with a little bit of the text in the middle there. I'm trying to think of a way currently to like stylize the people a little bit more, just so that they aren't like all the same generic people. Or maybe you could just leave it like that, because it might just feed into the fact that it could be any person. But I was also a little toying with the idea, like on the left eye, it sort of has a like the source inside of it. And I was thinking about putting like, you know, how it passes on from the source to the next person, or possibly to other like media outlets and stuff like that until it gets to the recipient at the end. But I don't know. Still need to try and figure out ways how to use some Pathfinder and make the stuff overlay a bit, but it's kind of what the general theme I have right now.
I have one idea as far as stylizing the people. I think if you just like cut wedges out in their heads, sort of like Pac-Man, I think it would be more obvious that it's like mouths talking to the next person.
That would help with like, because I was trying to think of a way to like show a little bit more direction instead of it just being like truth, 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 lies.
Yeah, it's not quite as obvious yet that it's like people.
It's pretty good. Thanks.
I definitely like the idea of them being more vague, like it could be anybody, but I do think you need some more, like something to make it obvious that they are people. Like I like the idea of like the having them have mouths and like maybe having the words coming out of the mouths instead of just like being next to them. But I do like the fact that they're not any specific type of person or like look like a specific type of person, that they're just like everything is uniform.
Yeah, it's I am kind of leaning towards that part a little bit more with the design, but I also kind of wanted to, I'm trying to think of a way to incorporate like more like this is what like a particular media group would say, or like maybe like put some like names out there, like just I don't know, like some news outlet like CNN or Fox News, or just like anything that it's really they all just sort of push their own breed of misinformation down. So I was thinking of ways to try and put that in here too.
This might be a lot of work, but if you can like fill the silhouette of the man in the background with words, maybe of the fake or the fake news headlines or the media corporations, and just fill that entire face up with words.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty good. I could definitely see how it can fill that in. I might actually have to think about that.
For your type for the people, instead of source for the first one, you could say like CNN or Fox or whatever, and then have like the rest of them be labeled like innocent bystander or something like that, to show that it's the media that's the ones doing this.
And it's kind of thinking how to like put that in well, but I don't really like how when I put source in there, like it kind of cut out like, you know, little like gaps in the O and the R and everything. But I guess I'll just have to try and experiment and mess around, see how I can get them to come through well, because I mean, I have the truth and the lies text going through like as yellow, and I don't know, I don't think that really fits too well. I don't think yellow text is really like a good color for it, but I mean, I just have to see how that goes.
Yeah, so one suggestion I would like to make is maybe give a kind of comment box, kind of, you know, like those comic books, verbal text
bubble.
box. Yeah, speech bubbles. Yeah, you can maybe put that next to the words, or next to the people rather, so it looks like they're saying it.
Thanks.
Every time I'm looking at this, I just think that like these words are coming out of the person's mouth here, not so much the eyes.
Yeah, I was thinking a little bit like, but I know I don't have it here very much, but I was trying to toy with certain ways how to like show direction going through the mouth. But I'll definitely have to add that in the final project version of this.
Are you hoping to have him, this person, be kind of like hiddenly masked like this? Or does it matter if it's up front or not?
I was kind of thinking with the guy being in the back, it was sort of more like a like a looming presence over like the regular people, where it's like he sort of just there's like a it's not really stated, but it's like a general like, ooh, be quiet about this, don't talk about what's really happening kind of deal. Like it's not like on the nose or anything, but it's like everyone kind of thinks that way, or it's just kind of what's being projected towards people.
So I'm almost wondering, like, what if you take this character and you push him all the way more to the left, so there's just like more of a sliver of his head showing, and then we rotate this 90 degrees clockwise, and all of the eyes are at the bottom of that portrait. So he could almost be like shushing downward, because then he'd be top side. I don't think it really matters that, you know, he's going downward. I think the whole point is that with that visual hierarchy, he's kind of ominously in charge of telling others what to do, kind of thing. And I think you could almost just literally somehow shush with him, I think, to be a little bit more upfront about it. I don't think you need to necessarily have all the letters be in our face, right? It could just be background shushing, but like still kind of giving you another example of maybe playing with type to build it out as an image. I think that just tweaking the layout of that would then give us that more instantaneous connection that you're kind of talking about. This background figure that's like telling us what we can and can't do.
Yeah, let's see how that works. Thanks.
Or it could be from the bottom up. I don't know, you know, if it's, you know, supposed to be kind of in the background or looming or, you know, behind the scenes, maybe bottom up would work in a similar way.
Yeah, I was kind of doing a more like behind the scenes sort of feel, but yeah, I'll see how I can arrange it to make it work a little better.
All right, we got Michael.
All right, so for my proposal, it was the GME and like some other stocks, stock manipulation like a few months back. And right now mine is like, I kind of just pieced it all together really quickly. It's not really like finished, but I just have like the hedge funds, which is the guy in the suit, basically puppeteering the stock. Yeah. I mean, right now I see that I have like a lot of space to work with, like in the background and stuff like that. I'm not sure right now what I really want to like put in the background, but like the main focus is like that guy in the suit.
This is kind of going off of what I said for the last project, but you could fill in the guy's suit with the names of the big corporations that do control the stock market and are controlling it like that.
Also, instead of just like filling in like the font into this like arrow line, you could just make like those letters like green to be your arrow. Like I don't think you need them like inside a box. They can kind of just like represent it. You just like form them the right way.
I was thinking of like actually making like a bowl made out of words for like a transparency like in the front, but that is probably gonna like take some time to like actually map out the words and try to shape it into a bowl.
For the background, you could maybe put like stock related like headlines, like newspaper headlines, like talking about like all the stuff that the hedge funds do, or even just put like different like stock numbers to like fill up the back.
Yeah.
If it's about like the GameStop situation, I think maybe you should try to put something about like individual traders or something in there, just like to show them contrast in the sky almost.
I was thinking of like putting like Wall Street Bets, the Reddit page on the bottom, and then like putting a bunch of like terms and stuff.
So I was thinking if you just push them back a little bit and put them up, maybe have them like pushing the arrow up to show them like raising the stock prices in a way.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Also, going off with the background, you could put like, if you're going off GameStop, put the Reddit feed or put different clips from that and like kind of combine it into like a Mod Podge like news article type deal and have it laid behind him.
Okay.
I was gonna say that for the background or to like represent like people who are doing like their own inside trading, you could like almost put them underneath the like the stock line, like almost make it like look like they're below him. I don't know how like you could do it. Maybe like make like almost like the tiny like figures, like circle headed people, and then just like fill the bottom with that, and then almost have the background be like the larger guy and more like stock. I don't know what I guess stockbrokers in the background, like the same size as him, but like in the further back.
So you're saying like add more like guys in suits in the background?
Yeah, I was gonna say put those like behind him, and then below like the like arrow and like the with all the words, you could put like almost like the people are below type thing.
I think maybe instead of doing people in order to get a little more text space, maybe you could do like the words Wall Street Bets, and then like some of the main moderators from that channel, and a lot of the users who pushed a lot of it going forward. This way it keeps a little more text based.
Yeah. I mean, another thing I was gonna do was like the strings that's attached to his fingers. I was gonna change those and replace them with words.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to have this huge scale of a person. And I think some other suggestions like moving him up. But if you move him up, I don't think you should shrink him. If anything, I think potentially even make him larger. Just like cut off the top of the head, you know. Like maybe the skin tone could be a more neutral, right? Like maybe just gray, just kind of in the background, lightening up the blue even. Because I'm still thinking of these things as like this character is more of like this background ominous kind of entity kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're masking the identity in different little ways, I think that'll help. And then also to contrast the scale, maybe there's there's little itty bitty thing people down here or something, you know. It doesn't have to be full detail. It could just be like little stick figure-esque looking things, because I actually think that this style could be fun to keep playing within, you know, like what if all of this text was all handwritten and scanned in and put in, you know? I think it could be pretty interesting to have that connection, or that reoccurring style. Okay, we're on Jade.
So for my project, I kind of wanted to represent how social media, like the presence of social media, like kind of, how do you say, like it's sometimes overwhelming, especially with in regards to things like social justice movements and political things. So I was thinking of like, I needed kind of like, I wanted to ask Bernard for help, but like I wanted to like, in the background, instead of like having just a one white background, I wanted to have like text with like probably like tweets or something, or like articles, like from text from articles. And I really don't know what else to add other than like more text. So yeah.
So I'm just looking at your proposal. Are we talking about the decline of mental health then?
Yeah, kind of like the decline of mental health.
Okay, because yeah, I started to see that with the head down, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to like make it look like it's like having an impact on mental health, maybe you could take this person and like maybe get another one and like put him on his knees down, and then next kind of like a transition from like standing to his knees like to the floor, maybe almost like it's overwhelming him.
Thank you. That's good.
I think if you're trying to do it like overwhelming, you could just have like fake tweets there and just like overlap them, like put in like a ton of them in the background to show like just there's just too much to focus on.
What I'm thinking is just like, so you have all like your things in the center, the black and like red things that are like kind of harming the person, but you could have them like either like physically on top of the guy, like weighing him down. If it's like mental health, that could be like sort of like a depression-esque thing, or like more of like have them maybe look like arrows like hitting him. So it's like not that like the Twitter's just saying it to him. It's more just like they're actually like harming this person in a way where he's not just sad, is like our only indication.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
I was gonna say maybe you could add more social media platforms next to Twitter, because it just looks like only Twitter is, you know, the one that's saying all these things. But you're talking about social media as a whole, so maybe, you know, add YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and, you know, other things.
Yeah. Thank you.
For the person, maybe you could add like a cloud with rain like showering on him or something like that, like showing like he's
like more like depression.
Yeah, depressed. Yeah, along the lines with like mental health.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Depending
go ahead.
Depending on what you want to do with the background in terms of like putting tweets or whatever in the background, you can make it be like hate comments, because that like obviously does not help with mental health. Like instead of just like random fake tweets, you can make them like specifically more rude types of comments.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah. So the thing that I'm thinking of that might be a good approach, kind of stemming from a lot of these different comments as well, is if the character was kind of like in a corner small, kind of curled up, you know, and we can kind of visualize some semblance of a corner. And then if all of the different text and things from potentially different social media perspectives could all be kind of from different angles showering down on around him, kind of creating like an aura of this negativity or bombardment almost.
That's a good idea.
And then I think through that use too, you want to be thinking about your use of color, because right now,
Yeah.
Having the character just be this black is also, you know, it doesn't help informing connections of what's going on. So maybe once you figure out all the other stuff you're doing, you could then choose some kind of like high contrasting high contrasting color scheme to make those elements more well established. Last thing I think I'll say, I think some people have hinted at it, and so I'm kind of stemming off of other people as well. If you have a couple like of these gargantuan platforms giving you maybe the larger undertones of topics kind of being thrown down, maybe those can be like the background elements of type, so to speak. And then maybe there could be, you know, smaller little birds populating, and that kind of illustrating as like individual users, and maybe they're just a different tone of blue or whatever, and they have that same tone of or tones of words coming out. So like maybe they're individual people, and so that can create a nice foreground and background kind of dynamic maybe. You know, if you have Instagram on this side or something, I don't think it would be bad to then even have like Instagram little people or icons talking from this direction. As long as you have like all the pieces in place, I think you play around. But I think that might be an interesting approach to have like this bombardment from different angles coming down to like this small little focal point.
Thank you.
Dante.
So I wanted to represent how the pandemic has impacted people's mental health and what resources our local and state governments are using to help with this issue. I've implemented type by using words that have been common themes throughout the pandemic and put them inside the QR code. And I want my project to look like a mock flyer used by either the local or state government. And the QR code does work, and it brings you to the New York State Office of Mental Health website. Now above the QR code, I'm not sold on all that up there, but I didn't know really how to fill in that space. So I'm open to suggestions.
I do like the things at the top with information. I just think they're a little bit too long.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if someone looking at it would be able to read all of that easily. It's just a bit hard to read, I think.
I think maybe you want to switch the QR code with the text, so I think QR code above it. This way, it puts a little more emphasis on the QR code, and that text could be there as if you want to read it, being they are larger parts of text.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you could like, if you want to keep that information, if you could like present it in like a different shape than just squares, like maybe like put like a brain for like mental health and put the text in the brain, or like something like that.
Definitely.
I like how it's almost beginning to look like what's it called, like a crossword puzzle?
Yeah. I went
Like
for
how a
that.
lot of the, sorry.
No, so I went for that approach with some of them. I wanted to fit more words in, but I was limited to a lot of 3 and 2 letter words that I just
Yeah.
had to find a way to fit in.
Yeah, I gotcha. It looks really cool though. Like, I almost wonder if maybe that's how that top text begins to take the approach as well. Maybe it looks like the hints towards finding those letters or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I feel like in the QR code, like I feel like you have a lot of different colors for the words, and I'm not necessarily saying it's like not I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but maybe you can just limit it to a couple like similar colors. It might make it look like less like overwhelming, because when you first look at it, it's like a little much to deal with.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely.
I think what could help is taking a look at some different magazine layout styles, like layout text type examples, because you do have a lot of like this block type.
Yeah.
And just really looking through and finding maybe some graphical styles that they're using and just steal the style. Because everything right now is really constrained in a very, and you do have a lot of type. So that could be one thing, maybe cutting it down so it's less to read. This one's not as bad, if there's a way to be more concise. But is there a way to make it look more appealing to entice someone to be reading it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you could really uphold through like stealing a style, you know. Maybe some of the stuff expands outside this box in some regard or some way. One of the common ways that people, you know, if you read a magazine or something, one of the common things they do is pull out a word and make it larger, or pull out like a phrase or something, and then that'll help you be drawn in. So either you could do that like in mid-sentence and it's more dynamic of a sentence in some way, or maybe there's just background content that's relating to it that brings you in. There's a ton of ways to take it, but
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because this is really interesting and nice of a layout, but then this division's kind of harsh. So
yeah,
I'm even wondering, depending on what you do up here, if some of that could bleed down into maybe, would it still be, I think it would still be legible with the QR code. So I know that's a weird dynamic to play around with, but
yeah, that's the biggest thing I have throughout the different steps. I've been going back and checking if it still works, because that's the biggest part of it.
yeah. Cool. Oakley.
Okay. So my project is on how green energy is like not as clean as it may seem. So like I put this tree in and kind of wanted like the outside branches to be green to show that like that just to like represent different types of green energy. I haven't gotten to the individual parts yet, except for this like wind gust that I threw in to represent wind. But after that, like as you get down the tree, down the trunk, it starts to get like more bland. And then the reason the tree looks like it's floating right now is I need to put some roots connecting it to the ground plane. which is like the grid where we all get our electricity. And so one of my ideas was maybe like making the roots look like plugs, like that you just like plug into like a wall, and then have some words like because the main thing here is that green energy uses a lot of fossil fuels to make the infrastructure. So it has a lot of CO2 emissions, which is what I'm really trying to convey. But right now, it's not clear from what I have. So I'm open to any suggestions.
Yeah, I like what you're doing, having it be like more corrupted as it gets down the trunk and with plugs coming out. I think you can almost make it like more metal towards the bottom of the trunk, like it's industrial. Maybe it has like oil
Okay.
spilling out and stuff. Then you can have
Yeah.
the plugs coming out as if they're roots.
Thanks.
I can't quite remember if you said anything about this. Are you doing anything with the space at the top, like behind like the green branches?
Yeah, so last class Bernard was suggesting that I like blow up some of the branches kind of behind and just like layer it on top, and maybe that's where I can get some text in, because right now there's not too much text, and that's how I was kind of hoping to like implement the ideas of the different types of green energy, like solar.
Yeah, like blowing up the sense of different branches of something.
You just said that you're gonna like blow up the branches and stuff and fill that. I almost feel like your gradient should be like reversed. Like if the top is going to be more, and you can completely disagree with me, but like if the top is going to be more like green and like pure and it gets more messed up as it goes down, maybe like
Yeah,
have
that
it
makes
be
sense.
darker. I'm like trying to like come up with like a better suggestion for that, but that was
No, I like
just like sticking in my head.
I picked it like this just to kind of represent all of the like CO2 in the air as like because it like rises up, but also it's kind of like it's a weird thing because if I'm going down the tree but I want it up in the air, it's like a little different. I know right now like the wind gust isn't like legible of what it says, and I don't know if I should maybe blow it up to make it so that it is legible, or do you think maybe I should keep it so it just kind of looks like an image rather than someone actually reading it? It just says wind on it, just a bunch and some dashes.
If it just says wind, I feel like then that size is okay. I feel like adding a little bit more of those around the tree could help
Yeah.
implement that it is wind.
Okay.
Maybe if you add like leaves next to the wind or something, like it's blowing or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think something like that would be better than just having unlegible type. Especially if you're already going to have like this background elements of some sort for like type as image, and you have some type at the bottom. Yeah. Yeah, like not every single element of these projects need to be just like bombarded with different ways of integrating type. It's just making sure that you're meaningfully establishing some sort of imagery out of type. So if you're already doing that in one spot, it's pretty much sufficing. Just depends on the extent of everything. Every project's different.
Mine is somehow exactly the opposite of what you just said to do, which kind of makes me laugh. So mine is about Zoom fatigue and like how we don't have a spring break this semester, and like how online learning without breaks can kind of be a lot. And I wanted mine, I didn't write this in my proposal, but I kind of wanted mine to have like a more like dystopian kind of, not like Big Brother, because that doesn't like apply to this situation that well, but like kind of like a more of a Big Brother feel. So it like shows off like the background that is like made up of all of these professional character traits. And I think I wrote like a pleasure to have in class somewhere in the background, like to make it seem like everything's very put together. But then like in the other colored, that was like the Pathfinder that like cuts out to the background. It has like the little, this is all a lie, like this is a disguise, this isn't real. And then the person, that was me because the picture was available and I chose it because I'm lazy, has all these like phrases made up, like all these swirling words. And it was like, I need a break, I am tired, I'm not paying attention, did I just miss something? And I'm not completely positive with the way I'm showing type there. Like I was gonna make it originally, like I made it more transparent, and originally I wasn't going to do that, but I felt like it blocked off the face too much. But now I think it looks weird and it's not quite legible the way I have it. So I'm looking for suggestions. The window also just says freedom because I like when I think of break, I think of going outside. And I might make it a little bit bigger so you can read it, but I kind of just wanted it to be like quietly in the background. Like if you notice it, then you notice it, but if not, like the message is still kind of there. But yeah, I'm really open to suggestions. This was just kind of like a vague, here's the general idea.
I almost wonder if maybe the person just becomes a silhouette. And then maybe in order to make the text more legible, you keep that layer of transparent text, and then you have a less scrambled version of the text in front of it. That's less opacity, so you can actually read it and like tell what it says, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that.
This is just my opinion, but I feel like maybe that window of the, you know, the thing in the background, that might not be necessary. I feel like you got your point across very well. When I just looked at that, I was a little bit more confused than, you know, already seeing all the text on the face. So I don't know, if you have a real, you know, important significance to it, then you can keep it. But just my opinion, I feel like that might not be necessary. You know, the clock is fine, but that window is a bit too much, maybe.
Yeah, I wanted to like make it look more realistically like a background, and I thought that that would like help portray like the idea of going on break more. But I don't know. It's like, because obviously it's more like artistic than realistic, so I'm not quite sure if it's coming across well.
Yeah.
I'm still fiddling around with things.
Yeah, from my opinion, from my perspective, it looks like a painting more than a window.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm just giving you that insight. It just looks like a painting or like a frame, you know.
That's fair. I might put like the little
Yeah.
the little bars to make it look more like a window if I keep it to
Yeah,
make it
you can
more
do that.
realistic. I didn't think about that. Thank you.
I almost wonder if you go like the SpongeBob approach, like the episode where he's writing the essay and he looks outside and he sees everyone having fun. Maybe that could be an approach you go with the window.
I like that. That's nice.
No, but I do like the window. I think it just needs to be more obvious that it's like a way to freedom there or something.
Okay.
Like making the text more legible, I think, would be one big part of it.
Okay.
I feel like the words on the face, they could be like more bigger and like readable. Cause like the first thing I see is the face.
Yeah.
And I feel like the main point of this work is like the face. And I think you should really I mean not should, but you could make it look bigger and like it would help drive the point better, I feel like.
Yeah, thank you. I was changing my idea around for that a lot. Like originally I wanted it to like show off how many words there were. Like there's so many thoughts in like the head, like so many worries, but it definitely is, I feel like maybe taking away from the fact that you can't read it. Like I need to make it more legible. So like make the font a little bit bigger. I just wanted to see what everyone's opinions were on it.
Yeah, I'm liking where that's going, and as that was discussed, I'm also wondering what it might look like as it being larger with these different thoughts, and if they are different thoughts, like maybe different typefaces or something. I don't know, because it's all in your head. So
Yeah,
don't
for
know, but
some of them, because I have like I just took like the pencil tool and did like a whole bunch of squiggles. A lot of the words are overlapping anyways. So it's gonna take some where like there's not a lot of overlap and like change the font color to like make it more legible, but I wasn't certain on what to do. So that's
well,
why I just left it for peer review to like get
aside,
more
yeah,
ideas.
aside from color, because the recommendation I'm wondering about looking at is if it is larger in general, what if you then used Pathfinder to cut that section of the head out so we see like the background type through it? So it's almost like these internal thoughts of your head in your own head are making you think more about being on screen.
Would you recommend like I put like a plain color background behind it, or it just shows through to like the words like that I already have on the other side?
That's what my initial thought is, yeah, just to see the background type of words there.
Okay.
I think that it might be hard still to read, but it all just depends. And so through that point, these internal words, it wouldn't be so much about the color, right? Because if you're cutting it out, there's no color.
Oh yeah.
But I'm almost thinking maybe you pick a typeface that has a varying amount of weights, right? So then it all could be like your internal brain's type, but then sometimes you're saying something and it's like all caps.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this? All caps. And then that's all bold and, and then you cut that out. And then that'll be more legible because it has that bold effect. But then, having that variety also then gives you varying levels of clarity to the background type.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the way I had it, I chose like a font that was like kind of more like handwriting, like more like scribbled, chaotic, and then I squished it together a lot. But I knew it would make it less legible. But I was like debating on the fact, like, do you have to read the thoughts to like understand the message? I just didn't know how well it would come across with other people.
I don't think so, not everything at least. And that's why I think like if you change up a few of the different type, the different weights of a type in there, and maybe some of them vary in scale. Like like the letters could go up and then back down or something on that baseline, right? To kind of emphasize a more vocal tone.
I think I literally wrote somewhere in there actually. I typed all of those out by hand. I just couldn't find anything to copy paste in. So I spent like an hour one morning just typing whatever came to mind.
Well, then that could be perfect because once you enlarge everything, well maybe you're already primed and ready to then go in and just select things and tweak the typeface.
Yeah, I don't think that would be that hard for me to do.
Last thing, I think these might be better black or like a gray or like transparent dark gray or something.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to make it look like a camera because obviously like zoom is the main part of it. And I know that's not how zoom cameras work, but like
no, but I think the record will do the justice for that.
So keep the recording red and make the other things.
Yeah. Maybe like all of these are black. And then you could see how all of those and the red look if you just lower the add some transparency even.
Okay.
Because then it's still like you're hinting towards, you're showcasing, but you're not like blasting us with it. Because it is very stark, the red right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Jetty.
Mine's about misinformation on social media and its like influence on people. I incorporated type in the sea that he's floating on. It says like global warming, real news, common sense. Like he's pretty much like blocked by the truth from his boat, which is made of like conspiracy theories and fake news and disinformation. Um, he basically declares that global warming is a myth. I think I'm gonna have more fake news related stuff on the boat, and I'm gonna have like more like true news like raining down, and he'll be like deflecting it with his shield. I'll probably like color him more.
I really like your water so far. It looks really good. Just like I think the text is like good enough where it's like the way you made it wavy, but still like legible for how like large it is. It's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely think just having like more words like raining down on him, getting deflected, I think that's a good idea also.
Yep.
Much better like that.
Thank you.
I think in terms of words on the boat, it may be important to note that there is fake news on both sides of the spectrum and not just the conservative side.
Yeah.
So maybe putting some of those far left fake news like source of information on the boat as well. When you say like the true source is raining down, do you mean like across the entire page or?
I'll have to think about that. Not so much as like raining, but more like sort of arrows.
Okay.
Yeah.
It may help to maybe push the boat to the right a little more then, so you can get a little more room for more arrows, so to speak, if it is, aimed at the shield.
Yeah, I
Right,
definitely
yeah.
think if you might want to just move the boat to the right, but I don't really know if you need the Statue of Liberty back there. Like I don't, unless you think it serves a specific purpose. I don't know. It just kind of seems like it's in there, but I'm not seeing like the specific purpose. But I might have missed it.
I just put it in there to like show the depth or like how everything is like under the water. He doesn't still believe.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe in that case, making the Statue of Liberty larger and behind the boat, or maybe like a cityscape behind it that shows the building is under the water.
But my drawing skills is probably not.
Well, it doesn't need to be
good enough
fancy,
for that.
Just literally take the box tool and make just boxes next to each other. It'll get the message across just fine, I think.
You don't have to do it like a drawing. You can like rasterize like an image into like vectors, kind of.
Yeah.
So you don't have to like draw.
I mean, I could, but I already like drew like
true.
half of my images, so like it would probably look kind of out of place if I did like boxes.
I'm not sure how if you would be able to do this, but if you could move the Statue of Liberty to the other side, because we're talking about moving the boat over. So if you can move the Statue of Liberty over and like flip it, and then you can move the boat over. So you could still have space and you could still show off the Statue of Liberty. It just like swaps things around a little bit. I have no idea if that's something you're able to do. But
That's a good idea.
if you want to keep both and could figure out how to do that, that might work.
Thank you.
What was the beginning of that, Becca? You said what about?
Well, the people were talking about moving the boat to the right a little bit, but the Statue of Liberty is in the way. So I thought if you move the Statue of Liberty to the other side and then like flip it so it's still like facing the image kind of, then he could move the boat over while still keeping both of those items in. I don't know if that's a thing that you could do in Illustrator or a thing that's possible at all. But
my underlying thought was this notion. This is like a film principle, and I'm lacking the name, but like forward motion is always usually visualized from like left to right the way we read. So having this look like it's going left, or the character going left, is almost like fighting the natural way of what we would assume. So unless there's like a deliberate reason for it, it probably should have him going the other way. Jetty, do you have a printer and a scanner?
Yeah.
So my one thought too was, because you're talking about visual style and things, like these are things you drew, right?
Yeah.
So if you have stuff like this that you've designed, you could print this out and you could print it out very lightly, and then you have that for reference, and you could use a very fine tipped marker and do like a sketching effect around the letters, or some kind of like analog presence that you could then scan back in and overlay. So it could be a much more unified dynamic. Does that make sense? It's usually a little bit easier if you had like a light box, because then you could just have tracing paper or something like that. But in a way to uphold this very digital presence to your other content here. Also, I think it might be fun to have something in the water, either like trash floating, or a shark fin, you know, like maybe something to this comical element, but that ties in some way. And even like the background color behind this could be a darker, you know, like another blue or something maybe. And you know, I walked out to the kitchen for a second, and I might have missed stuff. I don't know if there was background chatter about the background, but anytime I think of a Viking on a ship, I'm always thinking of like, it's storming out, you know, like they're crazy enough to be out in this crazy weather or something. So maybe there's a way to implement that, like dark gray sky or lightning or something. I don't know. I don't know if that plays in or not or what, but.
That sounds like a good idea.
Andrew.
Hello. So right now my project is on, well, not right now, but my project's on pornography, and a lot of debate over it, and a lot of the laws that are being passed that sort of restrain pornography. So I'm going with the kind of like pop-up approach that you would get, like when you start opening that stuff, like you just get a wall of ads. I want to have the frontmost ads be sort of the reasons why someone would get into pornography. I wanted the back ads talking about like the male gaze, like how race is kind of sexualized, how lesbian porn is more meant for men than actual lesbians, you know, so on and so forth. So a lot of the bad sides about it. I have my sketch in front of me to show what this is, like how populated I want it to be. There's gonna be more to it, but yeah, it's kind of what we've got so far.
I think with your project, you definitely need to make sure it shows whether this is like for or against it.
Yeah.
Like the censorship of pornography.
Yeah. The stance I'm taking is for it as like a positive industry, because a lot of people are in it because, you know, it's a quick way to get money, like save space, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, it's just like with the front one, it says like need money. Just like to me, that just looks like it's against it in a way, because it's like kind of saying they're being forced into it in a way.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Oh, also, in terms of the Pathfinder tool as well, I want to have like the background actually utilize that. I know I didn't use a Pathfinder just yet, but just in terms of requirements, that I do want to use it as like this sort of like wallpaper of the desktop.
What are the words that you have on the podium there?
So those are different acts that have been passed that sort of start to restrain the porn industry. So SESTA, FOSTA, COPPA Act, just a bunch of bills that have been passed against pornography.
You could maybe make it more clear that they're bad, saying stuff like censorship, restrictions, stuff like that coming off of it, just to show like it's bad that those acts happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I agree. I like that you have the X there. Like, I think it's a really nice idea putting the X on the flag. I am thinking that people are not going to want to take the time to look up what those acts are. To like say, oh, hey, this is what happened. This is a bad thing that they did this. Like, I can't off the top of my head come up with like an easier way for you to like portray that these are bad, but I definitely think that like just seeing a court case, people aren't gonna take the time to fully look up what each of those are and like what the result of it is.
Yeah, I wanted to have people like standing next to the podium in like handcuffs. So maybe the actual links between the handcuffs could be those acts to try and draw it back together.
Is there other like pop-ups you're planning on having? Like, what are those gonna like kind of look like? Do you have any ideas?
So I want one to kind of like mimic like the little pill bottle kind of ad, like showing like how to pay your medical bills and stuff like that. In terms of like what those are going to begin to look like, especially ones that are further behind, I'm not entirely sure yet. They may literally just be text that fits around the other pop-ups to show it.
You know, the one thought I was having, and then I thought you were going to start talking about it because you said pill bottle, is a lot relating to like pornography and the internet. There's a lot of other side industries that try to pick up on the same notions, you know, revolving around people that are like actively seeking out pornographic content. So whether that's like paraphernalia or like different drugs, right? All these different things that could be relating to this area. Those could be like these pop-up ads potentially, right? As separate windows. Things that get in the way, but there's you're directly relating to Windows, right? And so that's kind of a related topic in its own right. Pop-ups. And if you are thinking about, or not thinking about, if you are using Windows, what other components of Windows could you put in and also incorporate something into? So like, you know, when you download something in Chrome, you get like a banner down here. What did you download? You know, maybe that says something. Maybe you have tabs up here, and the different tabs say different things. And they don't even have to make sense. Maybe a bunch of tabs all in a line. It's just like a sentence, but you're breaking it up into tabs just as another place to say something, you know. Because like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, a lot of the stuff could be what you think as you first look at it, and then you start reading in, and you're dissolving into something else.
I was also gonna say, like, if you wanted to keep the text on like the stand, you could probably put it in like the American flag where the stars would be in like white text.
Yeah. So the flag, I didn't explain this, so it's my bad. The flag is a lot of the laws that were like positive towards the porn industry and so on and so forth. So I want to look up, see if I can get any more in there. So right now I just have a few of them in there. Yeah, that's my bad. I know I didn't say that.
Okay. Tanner.
Okay, so mine's just kind of involving cancel culture, and it's like the three got Mandalorian helmet, got Speedy Gonzalez, and got Johnny Depp. And inside them is just a bunch of like hashtags involving them, and like it's not the inside of the hashtags in them aren't like good or bad, like only like there's both of them. So like in the left one it says transphobic, which was like bad, but then there's some that say like I stand with this person, or like And then some of them say like fire, and then like in the Speaking of the Lost one, some people say like remove him, some people say they love him, and same thing with Johnny Depp one. And the reason why like they're all like kind of slightly different is just because I originally wanted, like looking at the Mandalorian one, I originally wanted it kind of be like inverted, like I want the text to show the color and the rest of it be white, but I've been like struggling to kind of do that, and I didn't know which one of the three like looked best, because I know the one on the right is like kind of is not highly legible because of how like light it is, and then the speak no evil, hear no evil, and see no evil, and innocent until proven guilty is just like stuff I added, and it's in Comic Sans because I don't know if I want to keep it or like what to do with it, because I just want to add stuff to the background, but like I don't know what.
As far as the background goes, I think you could add more like social media things, because that's mostly where the cancel stuff happens, like Twitter and Instagram and all that. Just have their logos up there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the text does need to be a lot more legible. Just having like an outline around them to make them readable, I think would be smart.
Yeah.
I will say I do like that you used Comic Sans. Actually, I know a lot of people give Comic Sans shit, but I think in this case it works because you are mimicking that whole see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil thing, which tends to be a lot more of a playful thing, and Comic Sans tends to be a lot more of a playful font, more or less. So I really like that you used it. Actually, it's the first time I've ever liked someone using Comic Sans.
I 100% just use it as a placeholder because I'm just like, I want to put these here because it's something I could add, but like I don't know what to do with it.
If you were gonna commit to that, oh sorry. If you were gonna commit to that, you could do like the SpongeBob font, like where you like capitalize every other letter, but like the other ones are lowercase to like show that you're like mocking it. Did that make sense? I don't know what else you call it.
Yeah, I kind of.
I think of the SpongeBob font.
The SpongeBob font.
I think of it as you're being very bored. Because you have to take a lot of time. Cancel culture.
You could talk about what just happened with Dan as well. I don't know if you heard from Game Grumps.
Yeah, I've been watching that, but it's like I just picked like these three because it's like I feel like they're three well-known like characters, and I feel like talking about like a YouTuber getting canceled wasn't like as well known.
That's fair.
And I just wanted to stick with like the three because it was the three monkeys.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah.
You know, this could be something similar because I've got a few different ideas, but some of them are like relating to starting over almost, and that's not really ever.
I mean, like if it's an idea, I'll take it because I definitely like I feel like I want to do more with it because it's not like doing a lot to like.
Well, my first idea is thinking about you're saying speak no, hear no, see no. I'm thinking like, well, why don't you relate all these to like a unified head? You know, and like have the different elements just in that spot of the head. I don't know how exactly. It seems more like a Photoshop kind of project. But so then I'm trickling back towards how you have it situated right now, and I'm just thinking, well, what if you blow up these three heads so they're quite large? Some of the content is like of their content is spilling over the page. Some of each of their heads are over top of one another a little bit, just to really blow them up. So they're pretty much taking the whole screen. Then to a similar effect of what I was talking about with Becca is maybe you're taking that overlaying type and cutting it out of their heads.
What do you mean?
Using Pathfinder to like cut that type, use that type as like a cookie cutter out of the image, so that you're seeing through the head and just where the letters are. And then what's behind it could be like this very block, very bold type of the different things that you're right now headlining, right? And then maybe hashtag canceled is just like a very thin single line over all of them, you know? So it's like kind of simplifying, unifying, but also masking some of the content. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know if that is as strong as the Becca's approach, because you're kind of hiding. Can you resituate like what these are for?
Like why they're there? Well, it's like
Yeah,
the
where
three
you-
monkeys, like those are like they're saying. So like that's why like speak no evil, the cancel is like over where the mouth would be, and here is over the ear. And so the idea of like the three monkeys is kind of just saying like it's used as a proverb to say that people are lacking a moral responsibility. So it's saying like how the people who are doing this cancellation don't like will rush into it before knowing the whole picture, or like they'll cancel someone not understanding like they're just a person. That's why it's like innocent until proven guilty. Like the cancel culture will immediately see an accusation, say they're guilty, and then not give the person the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that it was canceled over those different elements. And even now knowing it, I don't even know if it's helping you to have those over that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just repeating the same thing. So I think like just having this here is already doing the justice. I know what you mean by slapping a canceled on it. That's what I thought you were going for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about it more, I guess. Anybody have thoughts? Maybe we get, if anybody has a quick last thought.
I think if you want to still go for the speak no evil, hear no evil, like that kind of thing, I think if you just put that in the background, I think it will still apply. Like, I obviously see what you're doing with the canceled signs, but if you want to just put them, like, if you just wanted to put a big one over all of them, like what Bernard said, like if you like blow them up and you have the speak no evil in the background, I think it still applies because it's not particularly like each of those phrases relates to the specific character. So I think if you were going for that route, it doesn't have to be like over the specific body parts, and you could just keep the message in the background, and I think people would still get it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Or even similar topic, like I said, you know, cutting this type out of the heads. Or you could be experimenting that with the canceled. Like, what if the canceled was much larger and it was cut out, you know? Or you could even still have like the red part then, like a tiny bit of transparency, maybe. You know, I'm just thinking of, you've got some interesting like visuals happening with them. Other than I kind of wished like the color was still here.
Yeah, I was just like experimenting because like
But,
that was like a pathfind and I couldn't get to like work right. So I just wanted to see like how different ones like kind of looked.
Sure. Yeah, but kind of blowing them up and taking advantage of how you're playing with them already. So kind of like adjusting what you have rather than like a starting over. Okay, we have Alexander.
Yeah, so for my project, I wanted to show kind of how social media nowadays distracts people from real issues. Like real issues are there, but we just kind of look at social media all day, just ignore them.
Is this me?
That is you.
Yes.
That is the average person who uses social media right there.
Nice.
But yeah, especially with like politics, people just get distracted by social media. Like, look at Bernie Sanders. Everyone on social media is talking about how great he was, but they didn't go out and vote for him, did they? So too busy. And yeah, as far as questions go, I could just use help on how to maybe include more type or how to use a Pathfinder tool, I guess. If anyone knows how to use that.
Yeah, I just want to come out and just commend you on your image. It looks really, really like interesting and simple, like in a good way. But I would suggest maybe kind of elaborating on the different issues, such as like war issues, real life. Like they're just text right now, and we all do know what you infer by that, but for the sake of your image, maybe give them more life, like war. Maybe you can turn texts into like guns or like cannons or something, and then issues, political stuff, and you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, I like
For
that
for
idea.
like the light part from the phone, that's like really well done. It really shows the contrast between the issues and the distractions. So that's really good. But yeah, as far as the issues, you should probably just bring those to life.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm thinking maybe for like the lighter part, like with all the distractions, you could make like the words coming out of it like different colors, like oh, it's like bright and exciting, and like maybe make them each a different font or something to like show like oh, it's really distracting and bright and catches your attention compared to everything else that's like less ideal.
I like that idea too, actually.
I think one of the underlying things about your project you're talking about, according to your proposal, is complacency. Like people just accepting what's going on. And like you're mentioning, people are complaining, but they don't really do anything, or they're not trying to make things different. Just being complacent in general. And I'm wondering, having that being forefronted, does anybody think of like ways to bring that out more?
I don't have like a great suggestion, but like if you could like show off that you're like purposefully ignoring the problems, I don't know how, like maybe like hands pushing it away or something, but if you could like purposefully show that the person is ignoring the bad stuff, then that might like help with that.
Yeah, and I think I'm just going back and forth and reading and listening, and right after you said that, I finally acknowledged that, oh, this person, aka me, is being blinded by the screen. So I think that maybe enhancing that encapsulation might be good. Like even, putting a ray of yellow on both the sides, maybe that'll kind of keep it in a border. Because right now it just looks like it kind of looks like a graphical design choice, but I know what you're going for. I just didn't pick up on it instantaneously. It's kind of like one of those things, once you see it, I guess you see it. But the other thing I'm not really sure on is your use of encapsulating these different topics. And as of right now, these, like the typeface you're using, really, it like screams to me like what's the word? I'm thinking like old school Windows applications, or like scrapbooking, or like it gives a weird vibe off, like those specific that specific typeface. So I'm just curious, like, if you can expand on these bubbles in some capacity. Oh, you know what might be really nice is, like, you have this inside and outside happening, right, of the two. Is there a way to label them if you were to categorize those two? Is there an inside and outside? Like,
You mean like with the bubbles and outside, or?
Yeah. Is there a way you can label the two as, oh, inside is, or sorry, so like all the purple, right? Is all of this, what is this called? If you were to put them in a subcategory.
Oh, so like that as opposed to like the glowing area? Or?
Yeah. Like,
Do you think I should just label it or what?
Well, yeah. If you were to label it, what would it be? Like a one word or two words, or
Just like the outside world?
yeah, like real world or real life or whatever, right? Real world might be like too cliche. What if that's like the type over the background behind all this stuff? Just as another way of integrating type. And
You mean like over the letter part?
I'm thinking like even just as the background, just kind of tiled in over there. It could even be behind this, but then just the light is just very faintly transparent. So it's like outshining real life, so you start to get that sense of it's really that light's doing it. And to that point, we're talking about the light emitting from this. Maybe it's a gradient, like it's brighter down here next to the screen and it fades off. And only last comment, I think you really need to emphasize the double chin going on right here. I think that'll really help.
I'll definitely make sure to include that.
Mohammed.
All right, so my project is obviously, as we know, about Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter and the debate between that. And so the approach that I took with my project is a neutral standpoint where I go out and stand for what really matters, what the society is being distracted from. And the society from the top, you can see the social media, because that's the technology that I'm using in my project. Social media distracts us, similar to how Alexander's project is about. And so I wanted to go out and show like examples of things that people can't, argue against, and what our society needs. And that's obviously equality and justice. Anyone, like, everyone would want that. So, and that's what we need, because social media would be distracting us from it. They would instigate on social media by sharing things that one party would say, like, feel offensive. And it goes back and forth like this. So I just want to stand that middle ground and say what really needs to be said using this example. And the purpose of the book is, to show some kind of classic answer or example of, what we already have, but is currently, overshadowed by social media, with the phone from on top. The phone is above the book, asking what matters, instigating. That kind of question is supposed to instigate, sort of, between the two sides. They're like, oh, what matters, this matters, that matters, but what really matters is equality and justice, right? So we need to stand from that neutral standpoint with examples, for the classic examples from in which I used in this purpose, the Holy Quran, using the verses to show that we already have this and we need to exercise this now. So what I would like to get, from feedback is like how someone who hasn't heard what I just explained right now, how would they interpret this image to what I explained like just right now? That's basically what I want to build on my project, where like an outsider can understand this picture.
I think there's like a lot of text in the image on the book, which is fine, but I think you should maybe emphasize the parts about like equality or justice or whatever, like underline them or something. Like in the last paragraph, it says, like, "Oh mankind, we created you all out of male and female." You could just underline that part, male and female, just to really emphasize that it's about like equality.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
for someone
thanks.
like skimming over it, they can catch the key words.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I kind of did that with justice on the left page. If you guys noticed that, maybe I might have to make that bigger.
Yeah, it's not like that. Just like something like that, just to really make sure people can catch what it is you're meaning.
Maybe you could also like make it a different color too, like red or anything you want, basically to make it like stand out.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to make like a glowing feature, because I kind of wanted to make the book look like it was glowing on Illustrator, but I think only Photoshop does that, or maybe it's just not part of my knowledge on Illustrator. I kind of wanted the text to look glowing.
I think in the book there's a lot of space not used. You have answer, what matters is equality and justice. I feel like that could be moved down to the bottom of the book, and then you have more room for that text to really be legible. And I think the social media icons up top could be a little bit more prominent as well.
What do you mean by that? Like, what would you suggest?
Either it would be nice, like you said, if they could be glowing, but even just if you enlarge them a little bit, just so because of all the colors in the background, they kind of just fade in. So if you could make the logos a bit bigger or even add more social media icons, that could help.
Okay, I mean, I kind of use the big dogs right now, but like, what are the other ones, like the other social media that we could mention? Like,
Facebook is one of them.
Okay. Is there more or
Reddit, if you could?
Maybe Reddit.
Yeah.
Okay.
You may want to consider Parlor as well.
Parlor?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that is.
It's basically a platform that kind of got taken over by a lot of like a not MAGA, but yeah, like I can't talk right now apparently, but it's
It was something like a bunch of Trump supporters got banned off Twitter
Yeah.
or something, so they all moved over to Parlor to make it like their safe space.
I see. Okay. All right. I'll definitely look into it then. I'm gonna have to do my research on more social media. I just kind of took the big dogs, the things that people just look at and instantly identify as social media. Because, who doesn't go on YouTube? Who doesn't know TikTok? You might not use TikTok, but who doesn't know about it, right? So yeah.
I definitely think you need to make them like larger or something, because like I'd even notice the Twitter icon was like in the right. Like I saw the three on the top, but like they do definitely like blend in a little bit with like all the stars and like what matters you have in the background.
All right. Yeah, I will do that.
I think at least for me, I didn't realize that what matters at the top was a phone. So like maybe if you can like come up with something to make that like clearer that it's a phone. I like that the social medias are all connected to it, but when I first looked at it, I didn't realize that was supposed to like represent a phone.
I see.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you could like take like an image of a phone in like from Google yourself and then put it over that, or maybe like round the edges of the rectangle a bit more. But like if you make that look more realistically like a phone, then I think it will help get your point across more.
All right, understood. I will do that.
Or even just put a dot for the camera up top in that little
Oh,
break.
yeah.
That could add a lot. What words are on the edge of the book on the outside?
Oh, so that's basically what matters, and then a BLM or ALM with the question mark. And it's just like that. It just keeps going around, like sort of like a question asking, like a question that's going around the book, asking the book, sort of like kind of like an aura kind of purpose I have for it. I just wanted it to not be so out there. I just wanted it to be around the book, to shape the book, and sort of look like it's asking the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we already have a lot of what matters because that's what the project's about. So yeah, that's why I kind of made it smaller.
Yeah, definitely. I think it looks good. I think it adds like a fringe texture to the end of the book.
Yeah.
Sweet. I think there was a bunch of chatter there. Anybody else that we didn't get to cover yet? I think we're so not everybody has stuff for today, looks like. Okay. Sweet. I think for most projects we got some good feedback. There's still a couple that may need a little bit more context. So yeah, I would urge you guys just to make sure you're situating exactly like your structure, so to speak. Not really like you need to go back and do sketches unless that really helps you, but maybe think about that logic of how everything's going to be structured out before you go into this weekend of hopefully some catching up to do if you haven't put in the time yet, and really thinking about getting that structure first before you spend all this time and tweaking stuff only to get to class on Monday and need help with something and then realize like you did a lot of work and now you have to change a bunch of things. Or I know that's a very generalized statement. A lot of stuff you might not know exactly until you do the process. But anybody have questions? We were ending early, so which is fine. I know I had a couple emails. People wanted to meet, so we'll have to meet next week. I have a lot of stuff to catch up on.
When are the comments on Facebook due?
I think I have it on the schedule. I should.
I think it said Friday night, if I remember correctly.
That sounds right. Yeah, like getting to putting the stuff up today, and then you know, if you don't get it up today, like you're missing out on points that are just super easy. But then also, as people go to start commenting, you're one of the ones that people don't get to see because it's not up. So making sure you get it up. And even if you want to spend a little bit of time right now and tweak stuff before you put it up, I mean, totally, you know, totally plausible. Okay, sweet. Well, take care. Have a good weekend. Wish me luck in my move. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Eddie, did you have a question? Just lingering.